Uh, Good afternoon. Hope my screen is visible and I'm audible to one and all. Okay. Last lecture we have started. What we will do for this 2 hours for the today's session, we'll first finish this chapter. It will take not more than half an hour, and then we'll try to go for some kind of a hands-on tutorial regarding functional model. So let's start. So what basically we studied in this chapter? It's talking about implementation of OMT, that is object modeling and techniques. So we understood why there is need to go for the OMT concept, advantages of the OMT concept. Then we are getting the object models with the view like object model, dynamic model, and functional model. Then we have discussed the various phases of OMT, where we have said that the analysis is the first phase, then system design, and then implementation phase with concept of object design. This is the basic idea regarding the phases of OMT. Then we have discussed while performing the implementation, that is while we are using OMT in as a part of our project exhibition or as a part of a project completion steps, what we said is that whatever the techniques, whatever the simplicity we can able to apply while developing the scenario, means what I can say is that as a developer or as a software engineer, your role is supposed to perform development part, that is to write a code. So while writing coding, we should be able to take into the consideration of the points like coding is nothing but the same phase as of it is of a extension of the design phase. Then also we need to take into consideration that the writing code should be straightforward, almost mechanical process, that all the difficulty decision should already have been made during the design process. So whatever there is in the design process, as a developer we need to convert it to the same into the syntax, the scenarios. The code must be simple as much as possible, must be easy to go for some kind of an implementation, further extension. That part also we have discussed. Similarly, we need to apply the rules what we are applied for the development for the database also. So database implementation will be taken into consideration as a same as the coding part, the way code has been get developed. Similarly, we need to take into the consideration about the coding parts also. Then we have discussed the basic idea regarding object oriented style, means the reason why object oriented is so famous is one of the highlighting reason is reusability, that is the same code or just by doing small customization I can able to use the code for my upcoming project. Extensibility, it means that suppose I kept my project only for the first 100 customers, but suddenly if number of customers are increased, so just imagine I was just planning for 100 customers, but unfortunately I got 200 customers. So my project or my software should support the number of increased candidates also. That is kind of an extensibility. Then robustness means tough we can say. That is what it's a nothing but kind of increments. It means the performance has been remained same if we strengthen it. Just like is what number of users increased, hardware or platform has been get changed, but still it supports. So that kind of a robustness the product should have, that can be designed by the developers side while writing the code, and then programming in the large. These are the points what we discussed already. So let's focus on today's main agenda, that is features. What are the different features that object oriented programming language supports, or that is why the OMT technology, that is object modeling technology, is famous. The first is multiple inheritance, as you all already aware about the concept of inheritance. Then inheritance is nothing but getting the properties from the parent class to the child class. So whatever there is in the parent class and what can I able to access or what I can able to get into the child class, that I'm calling simply as a inheritance. That inheritance can be done in the two styles. The first is multiple inheritance or multi-level inheritance. The object-oriented language is famous. One of the reason is multiple inheritance. So we can take the properties from their parent class up to the some levels. So that is I'm calling as a multiple and more than one classes. Means child class can able to get some properties, some attributes, some operations. Those who already developed in their parent class can be generated or can be brought into the child class by more than one class. So I'm calling it as simply multiple inheritance. Then class library. So let's discuss each one of them. So I'm talking about multiple inheritance. As the name suggests, I said to you that more than one class as a child class. That child class may get, for example, we can say that son is what we can say, taking the characteristics from father as well as from the mother also. So one son or one daughter may be getting characteristics there, or what we can achieve is as a part of their properties implementation inside their child class. So I'm calling this simply as a multiple inheritance. So class could have more than one ancestors with the same attributes is what one of the thing we need to take into consideration. So there are several approaches that languages take to solving the problems. For example, the FL compiler rejects programs with such classes. So in any case, we strongly recommend that you avoid such conflicts. Relying on the compiler to resolve the conflicts is a matter of poor style because it damages extensibility and can lead to the confusion. So simply I can say that if language you select supports multiple inheritance, there is a direct translation from your design to implementation. So multiple inheritance introduce the possibility of a conflict among the attribute and operation names. So make sure that when you are going to for implementation of multiple inheritance, the declarations assigning the values, attributes, properties, and their what we can say implementation will plays a very vital role, will be kind of a challenging task, though it supports in object oriented programming language. It is the one who is a developer has to take the utmost care while implementation of the inheritance concept. Then we can discuss about the class library as the name suggests. The most object-oriented languages include a library of useful generic classes which may be used as or customized to meet a specific need through the creation of subclasses. The availability of class library means that many components need to be re-implemented by the programmer. The most useful kinds of a classes implementation general purpose data structure such as sets, arrays, then dynamic arrays, lists, queues, stacks, dictionaries, trees, and etc. So I could simply say that suppose I just want to write a code for mobile click generations. So based on my mobile clicks, whether I'm doing left click right or right click, based on that I just need to activate some of the operations on my screen, some of the operations on my window. So for that in C++ I need to take too many things into the consideration. But if I go to a language like VC++, so I can able to get a mouse kit generated just within a 2 to 3 lines, which saves my times. So inbuilt what kind of a libraries available in your programming will play a vital role. So fortunate enough in case of object oriented programming language that you are getting such available classes. We will call it simply library. So it's a full of functional libraries. Like in case of Python, I can say that most of the libraries are available. So you just need to use it by just defining it in a simplest manner. Uh, Then we can talk about the third point called as what efficiency. As the name suggests, efficiency means we can say each class has a structure containing methods accessible by objects of the class. That is true. Inside the object, we define some methods, and that methods be useful by that particular class. A pointer to each method is stored at the known locations with the structure. Pointer to the method structure for the class is stored in each object. Runtime method resolution is performed by retrieving the method structure and indexing it by the known offset of the method. So this technique cannot be used if the new methods can be created at runtime, or if the name of the method can be constructed at the runtime. A language system can further optimize method resolution to use dynamic lookup only where it is needed. A large percentage of the method calls in a typical application can be strictly bound by the compiler if it is provided with enough information. So what I'm talking about, the concept of efficiency, means whatever the coding part I am doing, so the code is going to get execute either line by line unless and until there is no any conditional statement. So that execution by line means it is going to take into the consideration of the program running, and second, the memory allocation. So whatever the part you are doing by defining the methods, by defining the functions, or by assigning some pointer values, make sure that it will utilize whatever the hardware availability, whatever the software availability. In terms of hardware, I'm talking about RAM, main memory, primary memory, secondary memory, in term of that, and also in terms of what time to execute the code. So keep sure or make sure that whatever the programming you are doing will be working in a efficient manner, and for that we need to take into the consideration about some naming conventions. If already declared name is there, so how you are going to reuse it, make sure that before compiling process you can assign the same values if it is allowing you throughout the program. The same again, storing typing versus weak typing. So sorry, it was strong typing versus weak typing. So I can say that object oriented languages vary greatly in their approach to typing. The term refers to whether each variable and attribute value is merely known to an object, or may be declared more precisely as belonging to a particular class per one of its descendants. That is kind of a strong typing, means assigning values class per one of its descendants, maintaining parent child relationships. So for example, they have given, you can read, the attribute redis is declared to be of a type length. That is correct. Smalltalk is one way, is a weakly typed language. All variables in the Smalltalk are objects of unspecified class. So to make the strong typing means, if you are declaring one of the variable, means while declaring the variables we need to take their consideration of the assignments, the values what we are going to assign. It may be of a for example, if I say integer, whether it is a small or it is a float, based on that again the values are going to get changed. So make sure that you will perform the strong typing as much as possible. That is what the various examples they have given. Then we can talk about the memory management concept. It is related to the primary memory as well as secondary memory. So the freedom in with which objects can be created and accessed cause a problem when memory space must be reclaimed. प्रोग्राम मध्ये तुम्ही काही डिक्लेरेशन्स करताय, पण ते डिक्लेरेशन्स करताना त्याचे असाइन्ड, म्हणजे जर मी समजा आय जस्ट इमॅजिन दॅट आय हॅव युज्ड an option of a size of a 5, but in programming or throughout programming I am going to use only value up to 2 levels only, or up to 2 digits only, but I assign up to 5 digits. So unnecessarily its value what it is going to store, it may create a problem. So try to use the real-time scenarios. Then encapsulation, you already aware much about this encapsulation, so I'll not take much of time about this. So it is just hiding the information, but hiding the information, again abstraction is there. So what actually the makes difference between abstraction and encapsulation? So we can say that simply abstraction is kind of an hiding the information from the user side, what to use, how to use. But in case of implementation details, we are going to hide That is called as what? Encapsulation. So encapsulation is nothing but binding the data member and data functions together, we can say simply. It prevents a program from becoming so irrelated that a small change has the massive ripple effects. You can change the implementation of a class without affect its client. So kind of an encapsulation means just providing the coverage, or simply we can say wrapping the data members and data functions together. So we will call simply as an encapsulation process. So it is not unique to object oriented language, but the ability to combine the data structure and the behavior, that is what very important parts. So combining the data structure and behavior in single entity makes encapsulation cleaner and more powerful than in the conventional language. Make note of this. So encapsulation is not unique in object oriented language, but the ability to combine data structure, that is declaration, and behavior, that is methods, operations in a single entity makes encapsulation cleaner and more powerful than in any conventional language that separate data structure and behavior. So languages differ greatly in the degree to which the class boundary is enforced. Next is packaging concept. Now understand the concept of package means what we can say. It is just a collection of a different classes. The things which are common we will try to keep together. We will simply call it as what? Packaging concept. So when I says about the concept of a package means, because in case of OOMD, the package is nothing but in further we will divide it into three parts. So that package, then subsystems, and sometimes it is called as a components also. So package is made up of subsystems based on the parts of their behavior, we will call them as a kind of a component. Simple example about the packaging is, if I take example of Microsoft Office 2010, so I'm calling it that software is nothing but collection of different packages. What are the different packages inside Microsoft Office? So Microsoft Word is there, Microsoft Excel is there, Microsoft PPT, that is Power Slide presentation, is there. So I'm calling that packages. So packages is nothing but simply group the similar things together. We will simply call it as one package for a specific reason or a specific purpose. We will simply call it as a part of a packaging. Next is development environment. It is talking about the way we will use, means what kind of a hardware you have available with you, what kind of a software entire scenario you are using for the customer sides. That will talk about the development environment. Means let's take a simple example. I am doing a programming and I am simply using Java development kits, just like I'm running with a simple normal program. But second approach I'm using for doing the programming is that I have installed some other applications, like some software development kits, like we can say that I'm using uh, Eclipse. So Eclipse is one kind of an SDK which will help us me to do the programs with so many enhancement. If my code is wrongly typed, it will help me to understand what was wrong there. If I forget any of the commas, semicolons, double quotes, it will tell me, so that it will save the time of a typer as well as for the developers to make the code enhancement. Readability of the code will be get increased. In case of some database, I no need to remember the queries. I can simply drag and drop the queries. So that kind of a scenario you will get inside the development environment. Data of data we simply call metadata. So that metadata is present at a runtime, allows an application to reason about and possibly even change its own structure and capabilities, including the operations and object supports, attributes it possesses, other types of attributes. There are also more conventional use of metadata, such as writing a generic procedure that prints or saves any object using the attribute names and types. Class object act as a template for the creation of new instances The class may also descriptions of the attributes and operations such as name, type, or arguments. So metadata is simply data about data. So while we are running, we need to take into the considerations about their simplicity. Then parameterized classes. So it allows a parameterized template to be written that can be applied in several cases that differ only in types of parameters. For example, generic list class can be initiated as a list of points, or simply I can say list of integers. The generic add element method on the element implicitly, that is internally, depends on the type of its elements. So local variables within the method have a generic type that depends on the instances. So parameterized classes are present in the adult language. I'm just telling different examples. So parameterized templates have been proposed for C++ language. To understand this, parameterized class means or generic, which allows parameterized template to be written that can be applied in several cases that differ only in the types of parameters. The rest of the parts that their declarations and scenarios remain same, but only the values of the data is going to get changed. The next part is assertions and constraint. Assertion means declarations, the way, the style you will declare the variables. Just read it. So assertions, that is declaration. Constraints means limitations. So both the process will help us to improve the odds that the behavior of class matches the expectations of it, the client. So we need to take into consideration what client is expecting, and we will try to match the client's expectations in terms of some declarations and also in terms of some limitations. Like in case of color combinations, the logo, the size of the logo, then color combinations, paging movements, etc. So we will simply will perform this in terms of assertion and constraints. So we can do this informally by writing a natural language description of the desired behavior. But how can we be sure that the description will be understood in the same way by another programmer who wants to use the classes? So this assertion and constraint means we need to understand the team structure. That analyst person will be responsible to understand what customer is expecting. Designer will simply convert their expectations into the designer part, and developer has to convert the same what designer has done. But while developer is performing, again different developers are there, and at the end this the entire scenario is going to go for the testing by the tester teams. So what is written inside the code should be understood very easily by each one of them, and the understanding should be the same the way a developer has done, or the designer has done, or the analyst has expected. So writing the description plays an important role. So in that case, we can take the help of these assertions and constraints. Usually there are a few critical assumptions that about the behavior of class, operation, or method that can be expressed mathematically. That is true. Next part is about the data persistence. As the name suggests, persistence means I can say simply constants. All consistency we can say, but simply. So all computer programs operates on the data. If you require data that persists beyond the lifetime of a single program execution, then you will need to use permanent data stores. So there are various reasons for wanting persistent data. Persistent means we can say constant data, simply. Consistency. So persistent data may provide the easiest mechanism for passing data from one program to another. That is true. Also, persistent data allow the same program to resume processing at the later state, and data stores are often useful for historical or archival purposes. So everyone is expecting data should be in persistent manners, consistent manner. these are the basic advantages of why we should go for object oriented programming language. Have a quickly look. If any doubt, please let me know. So these are the expected scenarios, the features, why object oriented programming language is famous. Kindly go through it. If any doubt, any query, please let me know. Yes, any doubt there regarding features or whatever the part we have covered so far? Any doubt there? No reply, no response. All of you there? Am I audible? Reply something, yes, no. Any doubt there? Am I audible? Okay, Kajal. Thank you for your response. Okay. If no doubt, then we'll go for the last bit of the chapter, that is applications. So applications of OMT, object oriented modeling and object modeling techniques. One of the highlighting is application is computer animation. And second, what we can say inside these computer animations, we can have lots of scenarios. So the first point I'm saying that computer animation systems create sequence of images which when show one after another create the illusion of the motion. So I will take simple photos and the photos will be arranged, that images will be arranged in such a style and will be run in a such a style that it will show that the movie is happen, or the kind of that the images are moving, means it is kind of an illusion of the motions. That is what one of the highlighting advantage, or the application, rather I can say application I'm getting over there. The next is computer animation systems requires an extensible design so that the new applications and the new graphics hardware can be easily added. The part of the describes the three-dimensional computer animation systems. The system offers the object-oriented as-seen animator is one of the mostly used applications. So you can highlight this. Object-oriented scene animator produce high-quality film and video sequencing of the results of scientific and engineering calculations and experiments. Second, we can say that OCAR. It automates the creation, control, and management of 3D computer-generated animated sequence. Again, it is one of the open source. IIT Bombay website, if you see, OSCAR is one of the highlighting points that you can find out there. So computer generated animated sequence using an scripting language controls analysis, modeling, rendering, display, and filming as what one of the highlighting points you are getting over there. Then interfaces have been developed for the scientific analysis programs in the areas of modular modeling, robotics, mechanisms, analysis, and fluid mechanics. The object-oriented design has produced a system that lends itself to interfacing with existing and future applications. So just they are talking about OSCAR application demonstrate how an object-oriented design can be successfully implemented with non-object-oriented language. You can just while if time permit us, definitely we'll go for implementation of that OSCAR, but it needs some high end hardware for the implementation. So OSCAR is written in C using an object-oriented development environment that includes macros and runtime support for inheritance, instancing, and message passing. Just like doing a programming using simple notepad, I'm talking simple example about the Java. I can do the program simple in notepad also. Means I can write the program in notepad, install JDK, JREs, and then go to simple command prompt and run. That is one of the scenario. Or second, you can have an Eclipse, and on the same platform you can write the program and immediately you can execute the program, and on the same screen you will get the output. That saves a lot of time. Similarly, while implementation or while performing some application based scenarios in case of film designs, OSCAR plays the same role. So OSCAR includes an interpreter that permits user to create instances from the animation classes in the system to control these instances by the sending messages. So that's all about the basic idea about we can say the chapter number 3. If any doubt, let me know. All the notes, everything I kept inside this blog. You can just go and check out the blog. Everything is available over there. So you can search simply. The first line you are getting as a blog. And inside these notes, you have this object-oriented modeling and design. Select this part. Okay, and here you will find out each and everything about the object oriented modeling and designing. So remember this part. Everything is here. The syllabus you can find out here, introduction part, then the chapter wise notes here you will get, then videos recorded, whatever the part I'm presenting you has been get recorded, and recording part is also kept over here. So all 6 chapter notes are there. I see one question paper is also there. Then I have conducted test MCQ1, MCQ test 2, that link also there. Then we have whatever the tutorials, hands-on sessions we did, that also I kept over here. So whenever you get a time, just kindly visit this and try to use this platform. That's all about chapter number 3. Any doubt regarding unit 3? Shall we take the next part over here? Because morning session somewhat was missed. So I'll just give the basic idea. Then we will discuss. I'll provide the time you to perform the hands-on session. If there is no doubt regarding unit 3, next lecture we will start with the unit 4. But to start with the unit 4, meanwhile, whatever the time we have, we will try to use that time for performing the hands-on session. Okay, so now we need to design. Means the today's assignment is, before that, let me take an attendance quickly. Give your attendance. Roll number 1. Roll number 1. 2, 3. Give me your attendance. Roll number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,
10 present, sir.
11, 12,
11 present, sir.
12, 13,
13 present, sir.
okay, 14,
Present 14.
15,
15 present.
16, 17, 18,
Present,
19,
sir.
20,
18 present, sir.
20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25,
Present, sir.
26, 27, 28, 29, 30,
30 present, sir.
31, 32,
Present, sir.
34, 35,
35 present, sir.
36,
36 present, sir.
37,
Present,
38,
sir.
39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44,
44 present, sir.
45,
Present, sir.
46,
Present, sir.
47, 48,
Present, sir.
49, 50,
Present, sir.
51, 52, 53, 54,
54 present, sir.
55,
Present, sir.
56, 57, 58,
Present, sir.
59, 60, 61,
61 present,
62,
sir.
63,
Present, sir. 63.
4,
Present, sir.
5, 66, 67,
Present, sir.
68,
Present, sir.
69,
Present.
last row number 70. Any correction there?
Sir, 32 present.
Sir,
Sir,
roll number 40 is
68.
also present.
The 47 present.
Sir, 28.
Sir, 1 is present.
Sir, roll
Sir,
number 2.
29.
Sir, roll number 6.
28. 32, sir.
29, sir.
28, sir.
40, sir.
32, sir.
Sir, roll number 2.
Sir, roll number 19.
Sir, 1.
20.
20 present.
Sir, roll number 1.
Yes, sir, 20 present.
Hmm.
Roll number 24.
Any other correction?
Hello, sir.
Yes.
7 is present, sir. 7 is present.
Done? Okay. Before going for the next lecture, next chapter basically, we'll start to complete one more assignment part. So in this, the task given is design functional model for the flight simulation. This is the classwork. Design functional model for flight simulation. So what is expected over here? So functional model, we will understand the first part called as what? Functional model. So what is functional model? Simply I can remember calculator. So to develop the calculator, I need to club together so many different functions. So like addition is one of the functions, subtraction is, multiplication, division, percentile, clear. These many different functions that calculator is going to perform. So I'm just club this together and we'll represent it. We'll call it is simply as a functional model. And one more simple way to show the functional model part is to represent it in terms of data flow diagrams, that is in terms of the DFD. So we are going to see how to perform the DFD. Are you clear with the concept called as a functional model? So functional model gives the processor perspective of object-oriented analysis model and overview of what system is supposed to do. So when I'm talking about the calculator system, so I'm getting clear idea that calculator system is made up of different functions. So what are the different functions? So that different functions is like I can say addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, assign the values, that is making equals to. So I'm simply calling this as a part of a functional model. And the way I'm going to develop the functional model or the way I'm going to represent the functional model, I will call simply as representing it in terms of data flow diagram. So this is way we will work out with the data flow diagram. So to draw the functional model, we are nothing but we are going to draw the functional model. So DFD is a network representation of the system to show the functional relationship of the values that are computed by the system. So data flow diagram consists of processes, data flow, actor and data store. How many different notations we are going to use? We are going to use the first part as a processes. Remember this. Second as a data flows, third as a actors, and fourth as a data stores. Only these four elements that we are going to take care. Now, what is processes means? Processes means a process that transforms input data values to output data values. A process is represented as an eclipse. So this is an eclipse notation to represent the process with the name of the process inside the eclipse. एक इक्लिप्स ड्रॉ करायचंय, त्या इक्लिप्सच्या मध्ये त्या प्रोसेसचं नाव लिहायचंय. That is the first notation you can use. Second, a data flow shows the flow of data through a network of the progress. Data flow will be represented from the flow. Second, an actor drawn as a rectangle is an object. So this is an actor, simple rectangle. And data store is a repository of the temporary storing of a data, and data store is represented as a parallel pair of parallel lines containing the name of the data store. So we will remember the data store inside these parts as a part of the okay. So remember these three notations. This is process. This is a part where you will use this as an actor. This is the data store repository parts. So to represent the functional model, we can simply take off these parts. The next is to draw the functional model. We need to simply perform these steps for the functional model. So the first part will be identify the input and output values. So simply remember who is the first inputters, decide the inputters, what is the output of the system, decide the output values. Use the data flow diagram, that is DFD, as a needed to show the functional dependencies and describe what each function does, identify their constraints and specify optimization criteria for developing the functional model. So what I'm showing to you, how to draw the functional model, and based on that parts we need to take into the considerations regarding the. So simply take the screenshot of this. First this as a scenario and second this as a steps. I'm just giving the 4-5 minutes to you. Take the screenshot of this. Okay. As you already much aware about this part, so what I'm assigning the task to you. So the task that I'm assigning to you is design the function model for the flight simulation. So what is expected over here? काय करायचंय तुम्हाला ह्याच्यामध्ये? So first thing is identify all functional models. Identify all functional models. Second step will be draw data flow diagram for same, for function model. And third, upload the DFD in given link. Okay, so within a short period of time I will share the link with you. You have to complete this task, so take note of this. Are you getting what I'm saying? काय करायचंय तुम्हाला कळलं का? फंक्शनल मॉडेल ड्रॉ करायचंय कशासाठी? फ्लाइट सिम्युलेशन साठी. आता फ्लाइट सिम्युलेशन समजण्यासाठी तुम्हाला काय करावं लागेल? आधी त्याचे कुठले कुठले फंक्शन्स आहेत ते समजून घ्या. म्हणजे फंक्शन्स म्हणजे ऑपरेशन्स. फ्लाइट सिम्युलेशन काय काय करणार आहे, कोणकोणते ऑपरेशन करणार आहे. म्हणजे आता फ्लाइट सिम्युलेशन मध्ये काय असेल, फ्लाइट पहिल्यांदा काय करतं तर टेक ऑफ, देन ड्राईव्ह करतं आणि लोकेशन म्हणजे त्याचं एंड पॉइंट जवळ आल्यानंतर काय करणार आहे ते लँड करणार आहे. मग टेक ऑफ, देन ड्रायव्हिंग अँड लँड ऑफ. ह्याच्यामध्ये अजून काही काही ऑप्शन्स आहेत ते चेक करा. हे सगळी माहिती कलेक्ट करा आणि हे एका मॉड्यूल मध्ये रिप्रेझेंट करा. जसं मी एक कॅल्क्युलेटर मॉडेल रिप्रेझेंट केलं ॲज अ पार्ट ऑफ अ फंक्शनल मॉडेल. त्याच्यामध्ये वेगवेगळे ऑपरेशन्स कसे होतात, ऍडिशन कसं होते, सबस्ट्रॅक्शन कसं होतं, मल्टिप्लिकेशन, एका सिम्पल पार्ट मध्ये दाखवलंय. तसं तुम्हाला काय करायचंय, फ्लाईट मॉडेलसाठी सिम्युलेशन तयार करायचं आहे आणि ते सिम्युलेशन तुम्ही फक्त डायग्राम मध्ये दाखवा. आता ह्याच्यामध्ये तुम्हाला कशामध्ये ड्रॉ करायचंय तर डेटा फ्लो डायग्राम. मग डेटा फ्लो डायग्राम साठी टूल तुम्ही वापरू शकता किंवा पॉवर स्लाइड प्रेझेंटेशन मध्ये हे सगळे ऑप्शन्स तुम्हाला मिळतात इथं. इफ यू गो this is process oval notation, just check, this is oval notation, you can use this oval notation. Then this is actor, this is actor. So I'll call simply as a part just to represent you. This is I'm calling process. This is actor. Okay, you can use two arrows there simply. Okay. This is for storing the data. Data store. Okay, you can use this notation for the data store and this notation for the flow from like this. You can use as a control flow parts to represent the scenarios, and these are the steps. Note down the steps and try to complete the scenario. Is it fine? All of you getting the task what I have assigned to you? Reply something yes, no. Okay, so we'll take a pause here. Remaining 1 hour you take to complete the activity for designing the functional model for the flight simulation. We'll take a pause here. Yes, reply something yes, no.
Yes, sir, A65.
Okay, okay, I will correct it, no problem.
Thank you.
You can continue the task, carry on. We'll take a pause here. We'll stop here.